Welcome to Towards 2015, the program to broaden your business perspective in a large market that consists of over 600 million consumers, which is the ASEAN market. We are still on the topic of development in the ASEAN market. ASEAN gurus have warned everyone on the phenomenon as well as to adapt to the growth of the middle class in the region, which is a main lifeline to feed the economic system of the bloc.
Welcome to the DTN Annual Symposiums 2012 here. The code name this year is AEC 2015 and beyond. So from this morning on, we have a lot of good speakers, and the good point has been grabbed. Deputy Prime Minister Kittirat has been talking much about the mindsetting and how to make AEC corporations more than competitions, and we have Dr. Surin said the words of one ASEAN. And then we have the first sessions called AEC and the New Global Economic Landscape. There's quite been a lot of information about the overarching economic outlook and challenge for ASEANs and the factors of sustainable growth and the China view. And also we have the global supply chains from the Fung Global Institute, which is a new name, but it will have a lot of impact in the futures. Now, let's come to the essence for the second sessions. We will drill down to the real business. The sessions will be called the AEC-New Trade and Investment Strategies beacon. Now, we have a very good people here. Start from Heng Shaw here on my left-hand side. In the past 20 years, he has been supporting the development in many places, including EU and Asia. He is now with McKinsey and focusing on Japan and Southeast Asia. He will be talking about the corporate view on regionalizations, especially from AEC here. Now we have the second panelist, very famous one for the Thai people. If you don't know him, so that's your problem. Dr. Sarasin Veeraphol. I used to call him Ambassador Sarasin most of the time. So actually, he quite well known and expert in economic and politics as well. Now he served as Executive Vice President of the CP Group of Company of Thailand. He will talk about the existing situations of Thai between China and India, and something beyond FTA we have been known before. So that might quite be a good part that we will get to know the strategies of the CP, how to deal with China and India and AEC as well. So the third one, we have a person from academic. But she's not quite an academic person. She has been working with Ministry of Trade and Industry in Singapore for some time, and she the lead author of ASEAN Competitiveness Report by ASEAN, just started last year, 2011. Now, Dr. Man Hong Wong is an assistant professor of the now become very well-known the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policies, National University of Singapore. She will discuss critical factors for business success in ASEAN. So what you see is that we drill down to the business strategies and how the business can perform in the forum of the AEC in 2015. I would like to start with Mr. Heng Shaw.
ASEAN is not only viewed as a 600 million inhabitant market, and by the way, it is still not viewed as such. It is still viewed by the corporate world as a collection of countries. So AEC 2015 will be very much welcome. When you are in the corporate world, like most of you are, you look at the fundamentals. You just do not look only at the surface. At the surface, you have 600 million people. But the fundamentals are things that count much more because you invest for the long term. I just would like to mention 4 fundamentals that I believe we should keep in mind and nurture. The first one that has been widely debated is the young population. Clearly, in Southeast Asia, we still have 1/3 of the population below 20 years old, which means basically that in the next 20 years, you can count on those people to become important consumers. And it's almost twice the size of Japan, those today that are less than 20 years old. 2/3 of the size of the European Union. You also look at another fundamental, which is the middle class. Here too, widely debated. Let me just give one number only. In the next decade, Indonesia alone will produce, according to various surveys, between 60 to 80 million more people accessing the middle class, meaning people who can buy TVs, cars, refrigerators, go to movies, buy electronics products. Clearly, in the next decade, the size of Thailand is going to be new consumers in just one market, Indonesia. A third fundamental is urbanization. With growing middle class and economic development comes urbanization. Today, on average, in Asia, we have roughly 35% urbanization rate. In the coming decade, statistics forecast that it's going to be 40 or more. It's not only good, by the way, because we have to face a lot of social problems, a lot of crime problems, but those are consumers who will come to work in the cities, earn more salary, generate more demand for companies. The fourth fundamental, which Dr. Surin referred to, is the foreign investment. And this is something that I truly encourage ASEAN leaders to nurture. Foreign investment into ASEAN between 2000 and 2007 has tripled, 20 to roughly 70 billion US dollars. It's a lot. It's a lot compared to the size of our economies. It went down in 2009 and 10, 2008 and 9 because of the crisis, and it went up again, as he said this morning, to 78 billion, which is a record high ever that ASEAN has attracted. So all those things are fundamentals that are so important for the business people who commit for the long term. I do believe that with AEC 2015, ASEAN will regionalize itself. But in fact, it's more than that. ASEAN will globalize itself. There is no such a thing as a region that operates in an isolated manner, even if you have special treaties among the members. ASEAN will expose itself to the global world. And with globalization comes higher standards, best practices. As a company in ASEAN today, if you are not preparing yourself to meet the best practices of the world, you will someday either win the game or miss opportunities. Of course, I refer mainly to big companies, but I do believe that it's also true for SMEs. I'm very much encouraged, having lived in so many other countries, to come back to Southeast Asia and see that there are regional champions. CP is one. CP is not only a Thai company that has become regional, it's one of the best practices in agriculture, upstream agro-industry play that operates around the world. In a completely different industry, Air Asia, just born a little bit more than a decade ago, already had 100 million passengers last year, I think. And it's one of the best low-cost airlines in the world today. In Singapore, Singtel has become a truly regional player through acquisitions. 40% or so of its revenue comes from Asia, including a big chunk of Southeast Asia and India. You also have companies in the financial sector, like CIMB from Malaysia, that defines itself, very interestingly, as an ASEAN company. I have looked at a lot of companies in ASEAN countries, and in fact there are very few of them that states upfront, first line of the website, we are an ASEAN company. Interesting. Very interesting concept. Siam Cement, of course, is a fantastic example of success in globalization and taking advantage of ASEAN. 25% of its revenue outside of Thailand in ASEAN countries. So they are great examples of companies regionalizing themselves, even globalizing, taking advantage of ASEAN opening up, and meeting the high standards of international best practices. Let me offer 3 thoughts, 3 directions that you may keep as food for thought if you have not had enough lunch today. The first one is alliance and partnership for scale. When referring to the global world, I was implicitly mentioning that unless you have certain scale, it will be quite difficult for you to play and win. Scale enables to get enough resource for R&D, innovate, enough resource to attract the best talent. Singaporean companies can testify they are now paying very high salaries for international managers. You can also make acquisitions because you have more, much bigger platform. In order to achieve scale, I would argue that mergers, acquisitions, alliance or partnership is compulsory for most of the ASEAN companies. And you need to race for that, you need to run for that. Because some other players, in particular multinationals, are now looking at that as well. Getting a bigger scale enables you to have the way to compete with the multinationals, as I said. If you look at just 2 examples, very striking. If you add the revenues of the 3 largest energy companies in ASEAN, you know all of them. The total of their revenue combined barely meet the top 10 energy companies in the world. And by design, when you're in the energy business, you compete with the whole world. If you add up the market cap of the 4 largest national champions in the banking sector in ASEAN, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, that total of market cap, and of course we can argue whether it is a good measure or not, just take that one, is not even among the top 10 in the bank in the world, and it is just roughly the market cap of the largest Brazilian bank. So it gives you some perspectives when you now suddenly, as an ASEAN company, play in the global world. Scale is the name of the game. If you don't have minimum scale, and it can be different, of course, depending on the sectors, then you will miss something. And I would say scale could be achieved in a very rapid manner, not only by organic growth, but alliance and partnerships with the other ASEAN companies in your sector or adjacent sectors. Otherwise, you will continue to see the multinationals taking a bigger share of this growing pie. In the retail sector, why Tesco, Carrefour, Metro are much stronger in ASEAN than our local retailers? Why in ASEAN the most innovative banks is not ASEAN but a UK bank that has big operations in ASEAN? I can go on and on like this. That is my first thought. Alliance and partnership for scale. The second one, is thinking regional assets. If you look at what China has done in the past 10 years or so, in particular, during the early 90s, when nobody was still looking at China, China was not only building the factory of the world as its position itself. China was an asset hunter. The belief is that not only you need to do anything required to understand markets, to have the right strategy, to hire the right people and so on, but you need to own critical assets. China had been buying all possible natural resource companies in Africa, mining, oil and gas, coal, also, of course, in the agricultural area. It now even ventures into Canada and try to buy energy companies there. So owning assets is very important. And why is it relevant for ASEAN companies? Because suddenly, with AEC 2015, it becomes much easier for many other companies to buy assets in different countries of ASEAN. The ASEAN companies, local ones, but also the multinationals. So the race for assets is critical. It has to do with resources, agricultural resources, mining resources. It also has to do with talent. I was talking to one of the ASEAN bank the other day, exploring an entry into Indonesia. The problem of that bank was not money, but was how to acquire the right talent pool to set up a corporate banking business, because in every country, corporate banking means that you need to have people with very senior experience that have relationship with the local companies. And if you don't quickly buy those resource and talent pool, it's very difficult. You can pour in a lot of money, it will not work. It has also to do with locations, which is strategic assets. When we talk to retail companies, for example, we not only advise them to look at the map of ASEAN in terms of market share. We advise them to look at share of the best assets. They not only need to think regional and act regional, they need to think regional and act cities. Because in some cities you have very good assets, locations, shopping centers, that are today cheap, that in 3 years from now will be worth twice, 3 times the price. So you need to quickly get those assets. So playing the asset game is something that is very important for a regionalizing company in ASEAN. A third type of move in thinking regional asset is about clusters. We have talked a lot about that, and Dr. Wong has written a wonderful survey on clustering ASEAN into different areas of excellence, if you will. Agriculture is one, oil and gas is another one, mining is one more, potentially tourism. And those are areas where if there's a mechanism to join forces between ASEAN countries to put together the assets and the resources, human resource and financial resources, to make it a compelling platform for creating jobs, for doing R&D in a much accelerated manner, it will also be a win. If I take tourism, for example, just to give concrete opportunity,